Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad that you are here joining me. My name is Stephanie, and as you can tell by the title, today we will be speaking about how to wait well for your spouse, right? Let me give you guys a little backstory as to how this topic came about, right? A couple of videos ago, I did a video entitled How I Met My Spouse. God's promises are yes and amen, right? And I noticed that it blessed so many people. Oh my goodness. And my heart is full, and I hope it continues to bless people. But I thought about it and I was just like, I don't think I shared many tips as to how I waited well, right? I maybe two or three, I don't remember. And so I wanted to just give some specifics as to how to wait well, right? I want to help everybody out. Listen, this is free game, right? Here on this channel, we do not gatekeep and we share. We help each other out. We're all trying to do this thing called life together. We are better together and we need each other. And so with that being said, I'm going to get into the video and share my tips. And I encourage you all to at the end of the video share your tips, share your comments, any questions that you may have. I'm willing to answer. I had a lot of fun interacting with you all, so I encourage you guys to do that for this video. And if you see me looking down, it's because I wrote down I jotted down some notes so that I can remain focused, okay? Because sometimes I can go off on a tangent because I want this video to be effective, right? And so when you see me looking down, it's because I have some notes, okay? And so one of the things that came to mind, and I want you guys to go back and read this story. It's the Book of Ruth in the Bible, and just to get a feel as to the story, right? Who Ruth was by nature. You learn about Boaz, you learn about Naomi, but either or, this story came to mind as I was preparing the video, and the things that stood out to me were, in terms of Ruth, she was loyal. She had a lot of love for her mother-in-law, and she had a heart of service, right? Servanthood, servitude, whatever you want to call it. She was a server, right? And so these things I want you to think about, and even just to give you a brief synopsis of the story, right? Naomi was Ruth's mother-in-law, right? So initially it was Ruth and Orpah, right? And so Naomi had two sons who passed away. Her husband also passed away, right? And so once they passed away, Naomi was like, listen, you ladies need to go back to your mother's towns, to go back with your mother, because I literally have nothing to offer you. Even if I were to have sons again, are you going to wait until they become adults to remarry? No. So she tried to encourage them to leave, right? And my girl Orpah was like, that's a fact, right? Peace out. You know what I mean? And maybe she didn't do all that. I don't know, but you got to go read the story. She decided to leave. Now, Ruth was like, nope, I'm going to stay with you. I'm going wherever you go. I am going to serve the God that you serve. Like, her loyalty and love for her mother-in-law was serious, right? And so later on, as she met Boaz, right? Another thing she did, she was serving, right? She went to the harvest to pick out the grains and all of these things, helping others. She actually offered to do that. And, Boaz saw her, got a glimpse of your girl. And yeah, you got to read the story. But that just goes to show you in terms of her characteristics, the loyalty, the love, and serving. And speaking about serving, right, that is my first tip, right? I want you to get into ministry. Okay? Ministry is all about serving. Anyway, serving God's people. My pastor used to joke around and say, the best way to stay busy is get into ministry, right? And of course, there's context behind that, because I don't want you guys to think like, oh, I'm going to get into ministry so that I can meet my spouse. No, right? In ministry, you learn a lot, right? Again, you're serving, and then you're growing, right? And you're also needed. So let's just stop there, right? But if you do not have a heart to serve, I encourage you guys to pray about that. Ask God to change your heart, transform your heart so that you can serve. Because guess what? Newsflash, marriage is a ministry. Hello. As a matter of fact, when you get married, it becomes your first ministry. So you might as well get into ministry. Hello. I want you to pick up what I'm putting down. Okay. Get into ministry. It is a win-win situation. Of course, I don't want you to get into there just so that you can find a spouse. It is beneficial. You are needed. It teaches you it teaches you so many things, your skills, you grow. Patience is another one, which is definitely one of my tips down here as well, which I'll get into a little later on. But that's the first thing, get into ministry. Number 2, right? Pick up a hobby. Or if you already have a hobby, perfect it, right? What are some things that you've been wanting to do that you didn't get a chance to do? You can do that in this season, right? Do you want to learn how to cook? Do you want to learn how to bake? Do you want to learn how to sew? Do you want to learn how to swim? Do you want to learn how to do your hair? What are some things that you wanted to do that you haven't done yet? Pick up a hobby and do those things now, right? Because there's a difference when you get married. And I'm not saying your life stops and these things stop. However, there's definitely a change, right? Because now you become one with that person. You have to consult with them. You have to check in on them, as opposed to now where it's kind of like you can up and go where you want. You can up and go on a vacation just like that. You can up and go with the girls, with the guys, whatever, as you're single. But when you're married, it's not like that. So pick up a hobby is number 2. Number 3, complete what you have been called to do. What is it that God called you to do? Are you an entrepreneur? Is there a business that you started that you didn't complete? You know that you have to do it. Is it, have you been called to go back to school so that you can complete another thing? Like, is this a requirement? Like, these are things like, what have you been called to do? Complete it, right? Finish what you started, right? Finish what you started. Because there are some things that we started and we did not finish. But now is the time. Now is the time to do it. Okay? And then my next thing, number 4, is stewardship. Okay, how are we stewarding things, right? Because guess what? We can get the marriage. You could get the spouse. But can you keep it? Right? And so I want you to start thinking about those things. How are you stewarding your time? How are you managing your time? How are you stewarding your finances? How are you stewarding your health? Any of these things. Like, we have been blessed, right, with so many things. But if we're honest, we are not managing everything well. Some of us are not managing anything well. Now's the time to do that. Then there's always something that we can improve on, right? Nobody's perfect. So even if you have your finances down pat, you can even get better at that, because then when you get married, you're combining and all these things. It's more of a responsibility. So get into the habit, of stewardship. How are you stewarding things? Because you're going to need it especially as your family continues to grow. Number 5, right? I have, how are you speaking, right? What does your language sound like? Okay, this is very important because we know that life and death are in the power of the tongue. And if we're speaking negativity over our lives, are we complaining? We got to switch that up. Speak life into your situation. Speak life into the situation, knowing that, or speak as if it's already done, because once he promised you, it's already done, right? So I need you to change your language. Some of us are a little cynical, a little bitter maybe. And we might be like, oh, all men are the same, all women are the same, and all those things. Cancel that out right now, rebuke it, remove it from your vocabulary, and start to speak of positive things, of what God promised you. Okay? So I encourage you to do that. And so next thing, number 6, practice patience. I went there. Practice patience. Do you have patience? Are you the person who can't wait for the light to change? Or I see pedestrians, they'll get to the corner and they start pushing that button. I don't even know if that button works for real. Can somebody let me know if it really works? I don't know. I've tried it before, but I don't feel like I saw a difference. But anyway, is it that you can't wait on long lines? You see a line, you're like, oh yeah, no, later for this, right? That is something that you want to practice. You want to practice patience. Excuse me. And guess what? In marriage, you're going to need the patience. And it's also one of the fruits of the Spirit. Pray and ask God to give you patience. Start working on your patience. And as a matter of fact, how can you tell whether you're patient or not? How are you responding in this single season, right? Is this consuming you? Right? Is this your sole focus? Is that you can't wait? All of these things? No, God knows the end all be all. Like, he knows what he's doing. You have to trust that. Okay. And maybe he doesn't feel like you're ready. Maybe he feels like you don't have the patience. And, I've said this before. I think it's a very relatable thing for those who have kids, right? When you have kids and they just have zero patience, and they want what they want when they want it, right? I'm hoping that we all make them wait a little longer just to teach them about patience, right? And sometimes you see they catch a fit, a tantrum, an attitude, whatever. Oh, you make them wait a little longer. So could it be that God is making you wait a little longer based off of your response, your attitude, lack of patience, right? That's something to think about. But in the interim, practice patience, right? And so that's all of my tips that I have for you all. But I will leave you with this, a challenge, right? I thought about it. And here's the challenge. The challenge is every time that you think about your desires of wanting a spouse, right? I want you to spend additional time with God. Why? First of all, because we should already be spending time with God, right? But additional time, right? Because I don't want this to become your sole focus and then it become an idol, right? It's okay to have the desires, the wants, but you don't want this to become an idol, right? You want to seek God first, and all else will come into play. But every time that this consumes you, I want you to worship him, get put on that worship music, right? Start praying to him and praising him, reading your word, right? And I don't know about y'all, but I know for me, whenever I'm going through a situation, any issues, when I start to worship, literally, I'm not thinking about the issue. It's me and God. It's me and him. Like, I don't think about what I'm going through, right? And so I encourage you guys, I challenge you guys to do the same thing. Because like I said, we do not want to make this an idol in our lives. God is number one. He comes first before anything. Okay. And so I pray that this has blessed you all. And, I want you guys to also comment down below and share some tips that you are using or other people have used that you feel are effective, right? Again, because we are all in this together. We don't gatekeep. We want to share. I really enjoyed interacting with you guys in my previous videos. And you guys asked some really, really good questions. So feel free to ask me any questions. I'll be sure to respond. And so I hope that this blessed you again, and share. Don't forget to like, to comment, to subscribe, to share. If you're not subscribed, I don't even know what you're doing. Stop playing, right? We are committed over here. Commit, come on, and commit to this channel, okay? But yeah, that's all I have for now. Until next time, you already know I love y'all. Be well, be blessed.